Hi, well, it says I'm live, but I don't think I did it right. um, Let me see if I can share this in another way. Um, I don't know if anybody is watching this at all. I'm trying very hard to figure out YouTube Live and not being very successful today. I started a stream or looks like maybe somebody's there. So I don't know if it's the same. I don't know if it's the same link or not. Can somebody say something in the chat if you all can see me? Oh, hi, Robbie. Hi, Carol. I don't know. Did the link change? Maybe I just won't. I don't know. I can't quite figure out the tech in this. Hi, Marcia. Hi, Carol. Oh gosh. Thank you so much for joining me. So, well, I'm going to get right to it. It's an interesting day, isn't it? It's the 22nd of July. And I woke up this morning thinking about Masaru Emoto. And actually, this rock, I have a story about this rock, and I have a little bit of a channeling I would like to share with you all. So the interesting thing is, I woke up thinking about Emoto, and I've been very comfortable listening to and sharing some of what I hear from Dolores Cannon. I was very close to her. I still feel very close to her, but I've never thought of myself as a channeler like so many others out there. But with help from some great supporters, my family, and my beautiful friend, Pamela Aaralyn, I've started to occasionally over the last 2 or 3 years share mostly things I hear from Dolores. Some of the other things that I've shared publicly have been from Masaru Emoto. And that's what the message, or who the message is from today, is Masaru Emoto. And hi, Kathleen. Thanks for joining. So I don't know if anybody is Facebook friends or not with me, but if any of you are, could you post the link to this video on my Facebook page? Because I don't know if I did it right. I think I may have people waiting on the other link. I don't know. Tech stuff, right? As a matter of fact, you want to know something funny? I was actually starting out on Vimeo this morning because Vimeo pushes these kinds of streams either to Facebook or to YouTube. And I got on with Vimeo, and do you know that I spent probably an hour on tech support with Vimeo, where they found not one, but 2 bugs in their own system. They were like, gee, thanks for pointing all of this out. I didn't figure anything out. I didn't figure out how to use any of their stuff, but they got to fix 2 issues because I was messing with those people, which I found amusing. But I've actually been trying to connect with some of you all out there online in some way for several hours now, which I think it's kind of funny, isn't it? Hi, Elizabeth. Nice to have you here. Hi, Jeannie. And oh gosh, from Luxembourg. Oh, I'm not going to say your name right. Ulrike is, anyway, I know Luxembourg. I've been to Luxembourg before, several times, as a matter of fact, as a young girl, but I loved it there. So I woke up this morning. I'll go back to why I'm even doing this video. I woke up this morning thinking about Emoto, and you know, my life's busy, jam-packed with stuff, grandkids and daughter here, working on many projects. There was a lot to do, but I was thinking about Emoto a lot, and then I thought, well, I need to jump on email and make sure that, you know, the practitioners on the forum, I check to make sure anything's going on with them. So I check on our quantumhealers.com forum, and it's a very strange thing that's happening, right? I feel Emoto like right here, and he's trying to tell me something, but I'm also feeling this very strong pull of looking at my email and checking out a message. And on on our support forum, quantum healers, so a lot of QHHT practitioners, BQH practitioners, introspective hypnosis practitioners, and, healers of all kinds. So they're on there. And there was a message from a BQH practitioner. And she tells a story about doing a session where something happened, and she wanted to know what people thought. And I'm feeling compelled to read this at the same time that Emoto's right here, which is a very strange thing, right? I'm in a way, I'm feeling a little disjointed and a little, scattered, because I'm thinking, well, I need to read this, but I need to listen to him too. Well, it wasn't even until I started responding to this woman on the forum did I realize that he brought me to that particular question on our support forum. So here was the question. So it was a lovely BQH, Beyond Quantum Healing practitioner, and she's doing a session for this woman. And she's doing a session for this woman, and she's talking, she's asking the community this question: has anything like this ever happened to you? And she's doing a session for the woman, and it's an online session. It's a BQH online session. And the woman seems relaxed, and they're getting started. And then it just seems like there's something in the way. There's something blocking. There's something stopping this from happening. There's a little bit of frustration. And then the practitioner says the dog started watching or started barking. Oh, Jeannie says that she's shared to my page. Thank you, Jeannie. Bless you. I don't know if it's the same link or not, but maybe people could find me if they're interested. So back to the story. So the woman, there's frustration going on. The practitioner is trying to lead her in a session. The client is feeling frustrated, feels some sort of hang up, some sort of block, some sort of something. Nothing much apparently is going on, right? And then the woman's dog starts barking, which just kind of, brings up the frustration. And then I guess between the client and the practitioner, they just say, well, go let the dog outside, right? So the woman gets up, goes to let the dog outside. And apparently she has this above ground pool out in her backyard. And something has happened. Something has breached this pool. And the pool is flooding her entire backyard with water. The covers come off, the water's going everywhere. And those pools can be big. My family had one when I was younger, and we had a big above ground pool, and that can certainly be quite an event in a backyard if a big above ground pool starts to fail and leak. And there was this question about, well, what's going on? What's blocking the session? Why did this happen? Why did the dog bark? Why is the thing going on with the water? And the practitioner's asking about what's blocking, and some of the ways of looking at that, depending on your perspective, is that there's some entity or some person or some soul or some being who might be blocking this session. Now, those of you who may know me know that in my personal experience, which I do not claim to be the only kind of experience that is out there, but I've been doing this work now since 2008, going on my 12th year, never, not one time, having to deal with and finding some outside influence or attachment, not once in all of the sessions I've ever done. Now, I'm not saying that doesn't mean it doesn't happen to others, but for me, it just hasn't happened yet. That's just all there is to it. So, the question kind of was, well, is there some sort of being, entity, thing, blocking, attaching, stopping all of this? And I always come from my training, my long ago training, of course, with Dolores. And Dolores didn't have any of this either. She says, just stop looking for that. Why I always think about that? It didn't come for her in her sessions either. And I began to answer this practitioner saying, well, just like Dolores, I found that those who look for entity involvements tend to somehow find them. or see them. There's a lot of different things that can cause blockages, but I start to answer the question in that way. And then I'm really hearing Emoto in my mind. And he starts talking to me about flow. Now, those of you who know BQH, either who are BQH practitioners or who may have had a BQH session, know that I created the Beyond Quantum Healing method with some of Masaru Emoto's discoveries and work in mind. And we use water alchemy at the beginning of the session to set an intention for the session, to create a connection between the client and the practitioner so that their energies are unified in the goals that the client has brought. Now, I have absolutely no idea what this session was all about because, it's just a couple lines in a paragraph from this practitioner who wanted to know, has anything like this ever happened to you? But as I'm looking at this question and Emoto is sitting in my ear and talking to me about water and flow, this following channeled information comes out, and I have it. I wrote it down in a Word document, and I would like to share that with you now. I'm going to scroll though. I've not done YouTube chats. Hi, Akasha. So thank you all for being here. I don't see anything there that I need to address at the moment, but I would like to then share with you what Emoto had to say. And what was really interesting is I'm starting this to write down this message from him that I'm hearing. And I really didn't know this at all. I didn't know this at all. I didn't pay one bit of attention. But today, July 22nd, is the National Love and Gratitude Day. It's a day that honors Dr. Emoto's work. That's today. So, there's all kinds of things that are going on here. And I would like to, maybe someday I can channel live. I don't know. I don't know if that will happen. I'm very comfortable on my keyboard by myself early in the morning, hearing and then writing it down and then reading it and sharing it that way. I don't know if I'll ever do anything live. It seems, I don't know. At the moment, it's not me. At the moment, I'm fine with sharing some written channel messages this way. But so this is not a live channeled message. This is something that came to me a few hours ago, but I would definitely like to share it. Okay, so here, let me go find it, and then I will. Yeah, hi, Elizabeth. It's funny. Elizabeth says, maybe I found my style. It may be, I'm certainly more, it comes out my fingers in typing. It's funny. As I see it come out, it seems, direct through my fingers onto the keyboard rather than through like my voice, right? I don't know, it's just the way it comes to me. So I'm going to click over on this document, and I'm going to share this with you just by reading. And it's a conversation, and I will just read what I have written, okay? All right. So again, International Love and Gratitude Day, July 22nd. And it's also, of course, Mary Magdalene Feast Day. And there's actually a lot to be explored about that day. And I've had amazing things happen to me on this day concerning Mary Magdalene and other years. But that's today, and it's the same day. And as I'm saying that now, though, we made Worldwide Regression Day on Dolores Cannon's birthday, right? April 15th. And Emoto and his family made International Love and Gratitude Day on Emoto's birthday, which is today, July 22nd. And Emoto and Dolores died just within hours of each other, and they're working together. And he mentions that in this channeling. Okay, so here's the channeling without any further ado. So Emoto, when he comes through, it's really interesting because again, I'm so used to sharing just Dolores, right? And Dolores is funny and she's deadpan and she's sometimes politically incorrect and she's just hysterical. And I love her so much, but she has this very blunt, not sometimes forceful energy. It's very solid and it's very in your face, and that's Dolores Cannon. And Emoto is something, he's so different. The kinds of things I've gotten from him before, he's been very poetic and very polite, right? So he always comes with a bow, and that's how he starts, so he bows, Emoto, and he bows, and I say, I didn't know it was your birthday. And then Emoto says, it was not necessary for you to know this date, but it does explain to you another reason you have been seeing many instances of multiple 2 number prompts. And it's true. I've been seeing all kinds of 222s, 222s, 22s, 2s, just 2s all over the place. And even this morning, the very first thing I see on Facebook is Facebook pops up a memory and shows me a memory from 2 years ago that happened on July 22nd, where I was riding my horse. Where? Yeah, in the water on our farm, which of course, water and 2s and all of that. And I'm already, and yesterday I had this long conversation with my daughter about seeing 2s just everywhere, this constant barrage of 2s the last little bit. Okay, back to the channeling. Oh my goodness, I say, you are right. Emoto says, you may safely assume some of these connections to my energy and messages. And then I say, oh, that is wonderful, thank you. And Emoto says, you so often have my friend Dolores on your mind, I found I needed another way to make contact. Which is just funny, right? I mean, Dolores is so here, right? So here, so always in my face. And Emoto's over here being very quiet and polite. And he basically is saying, I had to give you a bunch of number 2s for you to pay attention to me so that I can get a message to you, which I found quite humorous. And I say, oh, that's wonderful, thank you. Anyway, yeah, I said that already. And I say, well, that makes sense. Dolores is a force, to be sure. Emoto says, indeed she is. And that forceful energy remains upon your earth. She was and is a powerful force. It was one reason we teamed up, one reason we are connected in our work. And then I say, I've often wondered if you two knew each other while you were in physical form. And I actually don't kind of even know. I don't remember Dolores ever really saying anything about him. But here's how he answers that. He said, I would say we knew of each other, but we did not know each other as, for example, you knew Dolores, meaning in person with a personal relationship. And then I said, when I felt your presence this morning, I also simultaneously was drawn to answer a post on our forum. It was from a BQH practitioner who had a session interrupted by a barking dog, an above-ground pool that was breached, and water was flooding across the yard. I didn't even make the connection at first. Of course you were waiting to speak to this. It didn't even occur to me till I was in the middle of answering. And Emoto says, the connection between client and practitioner was a good one, a strong one, and the energy around the client began shifting quickly. The dog was sensitive to the energy, and the pool's waters reflected and then manifested movement, which caused the breach and the flowing waters. He continues by saying, almost all human suffering is connected to the impediment of energy flow. Humans tend to hold on to troubling issues or challenges. The water connection used in the BQH process between these two people created this event and created flow. And I'm getting real excited at this point, of course, because, as a quantum healing practitioner, often the conversation that we have and that I talk about is you never know what's going on, right? You never know what sort of things might be shifting and being addressed in these sessions. You might not get it in a story. You might not get it in images. You may get it in other ways. So this is fascinating to me, that while there's a seemingly non-communication going on between the practitioner and the client in one room, out in this woman's yard is this huge event with water happening. Okay. And so I actually had, in the middle of all of this, while he's talking to me, while I'm answering the question on the forum, that's when I find out and then, see this International Love and Gratitude Day, and that Emoto's, he was teaching practitioners, these Hado practitioners, how to do things with water. He started before he passed away, and there are others who are continuing this work, who are continuing his teachings, just like there are, people continuing Dolores's teaching. And so I started asking him some questions about things that I just saw that I'd never seen before about his work. And I said, well, so now I know you have a Hado school, and that's about, the messages and the energy and water, Hado. And I looked up some of the teachings. I clicked on I wondered if they were taught in America. They're mostly taught in Japan. I would love to go, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. But I did look at a 3-day event listings of what is taught in an Emoto Hado teaching. And one of the very first lectures that's taught is something called, it's like on the first day, it's like after the introduction, it's one of the first lectures, at least on the listing that I saw. And the part of the teaching in this school was something called the Law of Kazutama. Kazutama. So I say to him, so now I know that you have a Hado school, and looked up some of the teachings, and I saw part of the teaching is Law of Kazutama, which is the spirit of numbers and how they are applicable to Hado and water. And of course, I'm thinking of the 22s and all of that. But I'm thinking of some other things too. And Emoto says, yes, there are many ways to impress water with energy. Primarily of the direct consciousness focus, but using the energy and the spirit of numbers is another way. So I didn't realize this at all. I knew that he was doing rice experiments and photo experiments with water crystals, etc. And I know about the Peace Project, but I didn't know that any of his work had to do with numbers at all. So this is, pretty interesting to me. While I'm doing all this too, I click on a video, and it's just a few minutes, an 8 or 9 minute video about Emoto and this day, the Love and Gratitude Day. And in this little video, it talks a little bit about his life. He was the youngest of 4 children, and they named his mother's name. And then he quotes his mother saying something about water to him when he was a child. And I just happened to kind of keep that in my mind. And then I'm looking at what he's talking about, this Law of Kazutama and the numbers, and I'm seeing connections here, right? And here's what I noticed. And I said, okay, I have a question about this Law of Kazutama, the spirit of numbers. I said, first, I noticed that Kazue or Kazue, anyway, Kazue. I don't know how to say it in Japanese, but that's very close. It's the, Kazu with an E. It was his own mother's name when they did that quote about her and water. And I'm seeing all these different connections there. And then I looked up because you can do that, of course, online. You can look up what names mean, right? And so I look up what the Japanese name Kazue, which was his mother's name. What does that mean? And it's from the Japanese kazu, which means harmony, or kazu, which means one, combined with e, which means branch or blessing. which is fascinating, isn't it? I mean, think about this, you know? It's all about gratitude, blessings, thanking always of the water that Emoto, talks about. And here's, the name of his mother and what his mother said about. And this whole time, of course, I'm getting this impression, really, this really beautiful impression that this actually starts when he's just, forming fetus in her womb, in the waters of her womb. So he answers in this way. Yes, my mother's influence is strong within the work I did with water. I had no idea. Did you ever hear any of that? I did. No, I did. This influence began when I was in her womb's waters and continued throughout my life and moved into the blessings and gratitude associated with prayer and water. So I'm starting to think about a lot of the stuff, particularly the numbers, which to me I didn't know anything about. And I wondered, well, this system, I know it was translated. It was funny. I found on Google it said, oh, it's been translated. And I'm thinking, oh, great. No, it's been translated from Japanese into Chinese. So as far as I know, this number system is not translated into English. So, who knows even what it is. But I ask anyway. I say, so this Kazutama system of numbers, I said, what can you tell me about that? And he says, when number systems are applied and combined with human consciousness, there's an energetic creation made between both that can be useful in manifestation and also flow. And so then I'm really interested. I'm like, well, any number system, because this is a system, lots of different systems. And he answers this way. Mathematics are foundational creator source elements. There are many systems available. Some are simplified. Some are complex, some are more elegant than others or more free-flowing. And then he stops. And then I'm, of course, thinking, because I'm, BQH and assisting others with, balance and peace and health in their lives. So I'm thinking, well, is this applicable? Can a practitioner use something like this to assist their clients? And then in some other trainings that I had that use numbers, I'm wondering about all of this in my head, swirling around. And I'm saying, but number systems combined with water and consciousness, And he says, I can see your mind working. I will tell you, yes, it's just another way one can create health, balance, communication, and flow. And then I ask him, will you stick around and assist me with some ideas that are flowing? And he said, it would be my pleasure. And then I said, I am most grateful. And that's it for that channeling. But I went back and I looked at some of, Emoto's work is continuing, much like Dolores's is. And there's actually like a little machine. And hi, everyone who's joining. Hi, April. Hi, Jenny. Hi, Jolie. Nice to see you. Anyway, there's like a little machine, and it's called a Hado Mini. And there's even, there was anyway, an Emoto water app. And I tried to look for it or download it, but I think it's being reconfigured or something. It's not quite available. But there's actually something called a Hado water. It looks like a little remote control or something. And the whole idea of this Hado water app is to input information from a client or from a person or whatever into this little machine, this little software thing that creates some number sequences that you then use to imbue water to assist in whatever balance, health, improvement that the person wants. So those of you out there who have studied all this kind of stuff, you might be thinking about something like that I just was thinking about, which is like the Rife machine, right? Some of those complex frequencies and numbers. It's all kind of the same thing. It's all the same thing coming from different realms. And there's something that I learned many years ago that I've been thinking about releasing as an additional course from quantumhealers.com. And that's something called cellular and organ regeneration. And this is some Russian work that it's several years old. There's a couple of fellows. One is Grabavoy. His last name is Grabavoy, and the other fellow's name is Petrov. And I don't know if you all know or have heard about some of this. It was a course that I took from a woman who's in our community right now. She lives in Colorado. Her name's Patricia Forbes, or Pat Forbes. A wonderful woman. I flew out to Colorado to take this course just on a complete whim, and was very happy to do so. I have used elements of this over the years, but it's been another tool in my healer's toolbox. It's called cellular and organ regeneration. I don't have the book handy that I can pull it out, but it is changing consciousness or health conditions, or really anything, with the application of numbers. And the basic concept of this is really pretty interesting. It's these Russian guys, right? And they were trying to figure out what they were doing is they were taking DNA samples, these Russian scientists, and they were putting DNA samples like in Petri dishes and things like that. And they were taking them to computers. They were having the computers, I don't know, expose these dishes to certain sequences or certain numbers or whatever. And I know I'm really simplifying it, but it really boils down to this. They were trying to use a computer's processing power to figure out how to adjust, fix, whatever DNA, so for humans, for better emotional, physical health, other things like that. They were doing experiments in this way, and they were finding some success. But here is how that all ended up, which I find fascinating. As they were doing these experiments, which were going along swimmingly, what they did was they found out, because they were watching some of this. They were watching, sometimes the process would be considered. They would get ready to put the probes or whatever in the DNA, and the result would already occur before the computer would get to it. So what am I even getting at? What they learned was the computer had nothing to do with it, right? Here were the humans going, let's have these computers do these functions to assist the DNA so that the DNA can shift or morph or heal, or however you want to look at that. And what the scientists were very astute, because what they were finding is that the changes were happening before they ever even plugged them into the computer, right? So Grabavoy and Petrov, what they did was just like, who needs the computers? That's just extra external stuff. It's not needed. You can go from consciousness direct to the Petri dish. It was consciousness that was doing this, and humans, we always want the thing, right? We want the pendulum or the machine or the tool or the whatever. And I can even hear Emoto right now. He's laughing because, he made one, right? He made the little Hado mini thing, which does the same thing. Click all of this in, it comes up with a sequence, and then the person accepts that sequence. And then if the right kind of alignment happens, then the shift happens in their life. But the real thing is that it's the consciousness connection to it, right? The little machine thing is, if you know Bashar, right? It's the permission slip, right? It's the permission slip. So I find this all very, very fascinating. But the number 2 thing in particular, the number 2s in the last week, and today being the 22nd, and a very special day in very many ways. And Emoto, and I was going to I was going to tell a story about this rock. Oh, let me see what y'all are saying in chat. So Karen says, I've been using Dr. Emoto's work in my home and life for years. Such a blessing to have that knowledge shared this time. I'd love to learn that modality. Yeah, I don't know if you mean like the Hado healers thing. I'm not sure exactly what all's in it. It's, you know, it's very Japanese focused for sure. We have everything we need inside of us, says Robbie. Absolutely. And intuitive energy understanding says, oh my gosh, I've been waiting on the wrong video this entire time. I know, I'm sorry. I didn't know what I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing. But it'll be here. The replay will be here. And I still have some more things to say. Billy Carson was speaking on DNA and computer information today too. I don't know who Billy Carson is. I'll have to check him out. But I want to tell you about this little stone. So there's some of you out there who might know. Oh, hi, Kenny. Sorry, Kenny. Gosh, you know, well, I don't know. Jeannie Zach went and put the link on my Facebook page. Technology, man, I do the best I can. So all I'm gonna say, if I waited to know it inside and out and perfect, I wouldn't be here at all. Well, let me tell you about this stone. So last fall, for those of you who know Pamela Aaralyn, my dear, wonderful friend Pamela Aaralyn, there was a goddess retreat hosted by Samantha O'Hearn in the Lake of the Ozarks there. It was a beautiful gathering of about 50 women. And Pamela surprised us one night, and she brought out this big box, this big sack, this big box. And she said she had a present for absolutely everyone there. And it was from her personal collection of rocks and crystals. There were some little other things, but most of them were rocks and crystals. And here's how this all played out. It was fascinating. I've been meaning to tell this story since last fall, and I have not told it publicly at all. I don't think I have anyway. Anyway, what she did was she brought I think she had a bag or a box or something, and she just brought it around the room, and she had everyone put their hand in and pull out, you know, an object, right? And I was standing in the kitchen doorway, I think, and I was towards the end of those who were pulling out the different things out of the bag or the box. And it was fascinating watching it all happen. And she walked around and everybody pulled theirs out. And when I pulled this one out, I remember she grabbed my hand and she looked at me and she went, "Oh, Emoto." And I had to wait my turn to find out what that meant. It was an extraordinary experience to watch what happened next with my friend Pamela. So what she did was she would ask each person after we'd all chosen something. She would ask if they would want to have a message from her to know about, you know, the piece, and almost everybody said yes. And she asked if you wanted to do it publicly for everyone to hear, or she asked you could hear it privately or not at all or later or whatever. And almost everybody said, sure, like, you know, let's hear the story out loud. And this was a several hour long event, if you can imagine, because I think there's about 50 of us, and each one of us, there was something to talk about with her about our chosen rock or crystal or item. And I cannot believe how touched I was during this event. Pamela had extraordinary, amazing, very personal, beautiful treasures in those boxes, in that box and in that bag, and she was handing them out, in some cases to people she'd never met before, didn't know, and would never meet again. And some of the story people would, you know, say I picked this one, and she would say how she came in possession of each particular piece. And what happened was one of the most powerful things I've ever witnessed, truly, in my entire human life, the connection, the energetic connection between people. Because there were stories over and over again that were so powerful. They were beyond belief, and I just started sobbing. I remember crying. I cried audibly cried. And I'm not a weeper. I don't cry easy. I really don't. And I audibly stood in that kitchen doorway and just sobbed. Tears just like a river coming out of me, just flowing, with holding on to my Emoto rock. The water was releasing because there were stories like this. Here's an example. Pamela has struggled with being in a human body. She's had lots of health concerns, lots of blood transfusions. She's had health scares, pregnancy scares. As an example, one of the crystals that were pulled out was, she tells the story about giving birth to one of her children, a harrowing event. She wasn't sure if she was going to make it, if the child was going to make it. She had absolutely no idea. It was touch and go. It was truly life and death situation. And in the middle of all of this, out of nowhere, a crystal shows up in her hospital bed. And this is one of the crystals that she gave away. Now, first off, to me, the idea that this precious, incredible, magical thing that shows up in a life and death situation is something that my friend gives away, that right there is the most astonishing thing for me, right? I mean, there are items I have, precious items, that I would think, I don't want to give that away. That's so precious. And here, Pamela's got, 4 kids, but she's not going to have any more kids, right? She's not, and here, this crystal that shows up during the life and death birth of one of them, and she gives this to this woman. But it gets even more incredible than that. This woman stands there, she's crying, and she's talking about how her own daughter just had a very high risk pregnancy, birth situation going on. The connection was rock solid, giant, immediate. This is the thing that was in this woman's life, was a high risk pregnancy thing going on. Pamela didn't know that, right? The woman just put her hand in this box and pulls out this crystal and gives this woman this gift of the connection of the healthy outcome of this incredible mother-child life-death situation thing. And that's just one of the stories. Out of the 50, they were all incredible and powerful and strong. And for me, she was given this rock while she did a lot of meditation with water. And Emoto was doing a lot of speaking with her, a lot of communicating with her. And because, it's I think it's like a rough turquoise is what this is. And she would be transported into the element of water while she was meditating upon this. And she had a lot of intense conversations with Emoto. And this was the one that I pulled out, and that is now my rock. And later on, Pamela and I were actually roommates in that conference. And later on, after recovering from all of that sobbing, I asked her, I said, I'm astonished, these precious, precious things in your life. Not just 1 or 2 or 5 or even 24, but nearly 50 of them. You just gave away. You just gave these gifts, these precious things away to these people. How are you able to even to do that? And of course, there's a lot of wisdom in my dear Pamela. And I already knew what she was going to say, but it was still an extraordinary conversation for us to have. And what she says, of course, is that the nothing has been taken from her at all. The experience, she still has the babies, the life and death situation still turned out wonderfully. And now she's able to share that, and was able to share that as an example with that woman who picked that crystal. And for me, I have this crystal and a connection with Emoto. And she doesn't feel any less connected to Emoto by parting with this turquoise when it came to be in my possession. But oh my, the story is not in there. And I know that we've been going for 45 minutes, but I'm going to finish this story. Let me check the chat first. Rainbow Queen says she was blessed with Dr. Emoto's work and legacy. She was exposed to her first healing arts mentor back in 2000. That's a long time ago. Thank you for contact with the spirit. My life is better for it, as are my peeps. Yeah, absolutely. So the story gets even better with Emoto and this rock, right? So Pamela and I were roommates, and she was the guest of honor. We had really the most lovely room we were bunking in. And I remember that night, I knew it was the end of the night, at the end of the retreat. The next morning, everything was going to get packed up. I pre-packed the night before, and I remember wanting to keep this near me. I was having some issues actually with my kidney, which right? Again, water flow, all this stuff. There's still some things with kidney going on, but I really saw this as a flow thing, as a water thing. I wanted to keep it by me while I was sleeping, and I basically held on to it. I held on to it all night long. This big, lumpy thing, and I slept with it. And I had quite a drive home. I think it's about 6.5 hours or whatever. And I remember the next morning when packing up, and I remember thinking, because sitting had been tough for me. It still kind of is tough for me, for this left kidney of mine, which talks to me, and I have some things to still deal with this kidney, which is perfectly healthy, by the way. Absolutely. It's still, though, there's things going on with it energetically. And I was driving home alone back to Kansas from the Lake of the Ozarks, and I just thought, I want this thing close, right? I want this thing close. And I have this zippered purse where I've got an outside pocket with a zipper where I usually put things that I know I need close, right? Medication, address, tax, whatever, something I want close, this outside zipper pocket. And I put this in that outside zipper pocket. Zip it up, make sure it's in there. And I drove home from Missouri to Kansas, and I had a really great trip. And I didn't pull this out once, but I was very happy. I was pleased that it was over here in my little zippered purse right here in case I, needed it. But I felt really good. I felt much better on the drive back than I did on the way there. It was a very healing retreat. And when I got back home, I went to sleep immediately. The next morning, my husband wanted to know, well, how was the event? How was everything for you? And I wanted to tell him the story about this astonishing thing that Pamela did by giving her treasures away, but not giving them away, right? Basically sharing this beautiful thing with all these people. And I remember thinking how special Pamela was, right? That because, I still have some treasured things. Some are behind me right now. Some are with me. There's a photo that I very much treasure, my wedding ring, things, objects, right? Things that we treasure. And I was telling him how impressed I was that she was sharing these treasured objects. And I wanted to go show him my Emoto rock. I wanted to show him this is the treasure she gave me. Guess what? It wasn't in the zippered pocket. It wasn't in my purse. It wasn't in my suitcase. It wasn't anywhere. It wasn't in the truck. It wasn't anywhere. I threw out all my laundry. I did my toiletries, my purse, my backpack, my everything. I got back from Missouri without this rock. And I was mortified. I was completely mortified. And yet I understood part of what was going on here, right? She gave me this rock and she didn't lose anything. And I immediately lose this rock. And I am torn up inside about it, but laughing at myself because this rock is lost. And it was lost. And so then I started making phone calls. I made phone calls to Samantha, and I said, Samantha, I left my moto rock there somehow. I came home without it. Can you check? And it took about 3 days because, cleaning crew, this was a rental place, all that stuff. And they had to have somebody kind of go look for it. And whoa, I just threw it on the floor. I'm going to go pick it up. Anyway, I wanted to jump away into another realm again, I guess. Anyway, I still don't know exactly how it happened, but the cleaning crew found it in the little dresser next to the bed. Now, this makes no sense to me whatsoever. I didn't put anything in that drawer. My memory was putting it in that zippered pocket, in and zip and pat, pat, pat. Yes, I could feel the rough edges. And in my mind, that's where it was. But coming back here, it was not at all there. And I loved Pamela so much, and I felt just terrible that I had kind of lost the rock, right? But they found it a few days later. But what happened in that time was extraordinary. And here's what happened. That's when I really started hearing Emoto. During those 3 days where I was waiting to see if they were going to find the rock, because there was this thing going on inside of me, right? It was, I'm not supposed to make a big deal about this object. I'm just supposed to trust that I have the gift already, and all of it is still there and available to me. And basically, as soon as my heart was okay with that, as soon as I imagined saying, Pamela, I lost the Emoto rock. Pamela, I can't find the Emoto rock. I don't have the Emoto rock. The Emoto rock didn't come home with me. And as soon as I could do that from my heart, kind of without fear, with acceptance and with love, as soon as I energetically found myself in that place, I got the phone call from Samantha that said that she found this and she was going to send it to me. And that's the story of my Emoto rock. So I hope you all like that. And I want to thank you all for hanging out with me and putting up with my misunderstanding of how to do these live things. I'm going to try to do better. I would like to get better at this YouTube live. I got pretty comfortable with Facebook Live. I can do some Zoom webinars with people. I want to get better and make a better connection with the YouTube community out there, those wonderful people who've decided to subscribe to our channel. We've been running some other videos of some other practitioners, and more of those are coming. But I want to thank you for spending some time with me here today. Hi, Angela. Thanks for joining me. Hi, Sylvia. And hi, Akasha. So I hope you all enjoyed that. And I'm going to try to make this a regular thing. I don't know what kind of days or times, but I want to do some more of this and do some more chatting with you all too. Maybe bring some of you on to chat about things like maybe one of my favorite things to do is dream analysis. And I think that would be fun to do, particularly with, with some people who might be watching, might want to call in or something and chat about dreams or other synchronistic things, magical things that happen to us in our life. Oh, hi, Sherry. Beautiful, Sherry. I love you so much. All right. Well, that's probably it for me today. Thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate you, all of you, on this incredible day of Love and gratitude. I love you all, and I am so grateful for your energetic support, being here or of quantumhealers.com or BQH. Till next time, bye everybody.